It's good, people. We're back at it. Let's continue our conversation about the FHA 203K loan process. So before we get into the meat and potatoes of the process, I had a couple of questions that came up after the last video, which is dope. I love that. I love that people actually care enough to ask questions. All right. So one of the questions was dealing with, well, what about my down payment for that? Right? Does that change? Your down payment doesn't change as far as the amount that you have to do, your percentage that you have to do. So back in the day, it's one of those things. Probably when our parents bought, if our parents were fortunate to buy, they had at least come up with 20% down, right? So we're going back to those, prior to us, right? 20% down. In some cases, if your credit score was good and you have a lot of liquid cash and you had a lot of assets and you could use that as collateral, then you could get away with 10%, right? That's still a lot of money. Today, there are so many different programs that allow you to buy a home with a fraction of that, right? There's even programs that allow you to buy with 0% down as a down payment, right? But I'm not going to get into that right now. Let's talk about FHA. So with the FHA program, you could buy the property for 3.5% down, okay? So let's use the numbers that we used last time, right? So the house we saw, we're driving around, we see it, it costs $120,000. I'm buying that home as a down payment 3.5%, which comes up to about 4,200. I wrote it down. It's about 4,200. All right. So now what happens if I want to finance the rehab portion of that also? Remember the numbers we were using. I got 120,000 for the property. I have 30,000 for the repairs. Total invested is 150,000. So now I'm using still FHA program. Now I'm using 3.5% down for the total amount of that. So that comes up with 5,250. So that's my down payment. And when I come to the table, my down payment to secure this property is $5,250, which is phenomenal, right? So not only am I buying the home for 120 and then adding my own touch to it, my own flair to it, my own swag to it. People still say swag. Then I'm getting that for $5,250. Now, mind you, we have down payment and we have closing cost. Two different conversations. I'll do that for a later video. Just focus on the FHA program right now and the down payment that's required. All right. Next question that came in was talking about, can I just, kind of build equity in there and can I just sell it? You can't do that. The FHA program is built specifically for people who are using this as a primary residence. So primary means that I'm going to live there for at least a year. Okay. So you can't buy it, fix it up, and then immediately put it back on the market. No bueno. You can't do that. All right. Now, after the first year, yeah, you can. You could actually do that. I advise you to do it after at least 2 years because now you're avoiding paying capital gain taxes on it. All right. Or taxes on the money that you're going to be making on it. Let me give an example for the power of building equity into a home. All right. Now, for this story, my partner and I did not use FHA, but numbers will line up the same. So our first flip, one of our first flips, we secured the property. I'm a round up. And so we secured the property for 90K. All right. We secured it for 90K. We put in around like 45. So 45K to, spruce it up and new roof, windows, even the whole nine, right? And good property, beautiful property at the end of the day. But the things that we did still fall in line of you using the FHA program. We couldn't use FHA because we were buying it with the intent to sell it, right? So we can't use it. We went a whole nother route for financing. But this is the power of what you could do as a buyer, right? So the same things that we did, you could actually do as someone that's going to live there. So long story short, we got it for 90, put in 45K, sold it for 190. All right, so we got it for 90K, put in 45K, and now we're all in at 135. And then we put it back on the market for 190. So we had a 55K delta. That means that we had, and it appraised for that. So that means we had 55K worth of equity built into this home. Now we sold it, but imagine what you could do as a buyer, right? Imagine if you were sitting on 55K worth of equity on your property. That's powerful. Now, after 2 years, like I said, you sell it, you're doing pretty well. You're doing pretty well. And these are real numbers. These are real numbers. And these are numbers that you see a lot. Okay. So the FHA down payment 3.5%. I'm just making sure I get all the questions. FHA, no, you cannot sell it. Another question was, what if I don't want to use FHA? There are other programs out there for you. There are other programs out there if you just want to rehab and flip that you can actually finance. We'll talk about that later. Costs a little bit more money, but there are other programs out there that you can go the traditional, conventional route. But yeah, those are some questions that were asked. As always, I'm here. If y'all got any questions, feel free to hit me up. All right, y'all be easy.